vote to debate was lost. So we're going to put to the vote the notice of no confidence. Councillor McGregor, you put that motion. Do you have a seconder for your seconder, Councillor Eden? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour of no confidence in Councillor Connett, it's yes if you have no confidence and no if you do. So all those in favour, if you have no confidence in Councillor Connett. If you wish to have a recorded vote, is that a request? We need 5 people. Got 5 people. We'll have a recorded vote.
Councillor Bullivant.
So it's either for or against. Against the motion.
Councillor Clarence. Councillor Colclough. Councillor Connett. Councillor Sheila Cook.
She can't hear. Hearing difficulties.
Councillor David Cox.
Against the motion.
Councillor Hugh Cox. Councillor Dawes.
For.
Councillor Dewhurst.
Against the motion and for the leader.
Councillor Eden.
For the motion and against acts of violence in this chamber.
Councillor
That's
Goodman
enough.
Bradbury.
Sorry, who was that?
Councillor Goodman Bradbury.
Against.
Councillor Gribble. Councillor Hayes.
Against.
Councillor Hocking.
For.
Councillor Gordon Hook.
Against the motion and against violence.
Councillor Jackie Hook.
Against.
Councillor Jeffrey.
Against.
Councillor Jeffries. Councillor Jenks. Councillor Keeling.
Against.
Councillor Kurzweil. Councillor McGregor. Councillor Morgan. Councillor Malone.
For the motion and against the gang of banned children that attend the meetings.
That's enough, please.
Councillor Nutley. Councillor Nuttall. Councillor Parker Khan. Councillor Patch.
For the motion against violence in the chamber.
Councillor John Petherick.
Against.
Councillor Linda Petherick. Councillor Phipps. Councillor Rollison. Councillor Russell. Councillor Swain. Councillor Taylor. Councillor Toome. Councillor Wrigley. Councillor Evans. Councillor Parker.
Against. Right. That's lost. That notice of no confidence has been lost. Okay, we are now moving on to, and at this time I would say we're moving to councillors' members' questions, and if there are any more outbursts akin to what we've had a few minutes ago, then I will have no hesitation in suspending the meeting. So please, I would beg you to be quiet. Thank you. We can now move on to councillors' members' questions, which was the swapped item. This is item 18, and we have a number of questions, and I do restate that, a number of questions. I believe the number is 32. So first of all, we have a question, and these are done basically in the order that they came into the council as far as is reasonably possible. So the first question was from Councillor Bullivant. Do you have asked your question? There's a written response. Would you like to do a supplementary?
I appreciate the details provided, which was about the cost of decisions in planning being overturned. And I would ask that the people running training for councillors be made aware of the sort of cost to the council which runs into tens of thousands of pounds where councillors have failed to adhere to the national guidelines or the law and overturned or not or acted outside the law in terms of the decisions made by the planning committee. So I'd ask that to be referred to the training for councillors. The second question that I raised was how much has the council spent through corporate services on unbudgeted costs resulting in the need to investigate standards complaints against councillors when those complaints have been shown to be unwarranted, and where the complaint has been wholly upheld following independent investigation, and that cost again runs into £13,750 at the moment, a considerable amount of money, because councillors fail to understand the process or the conditions that they're supposed to follow in terms of the...
Have you got a supplementary? Yeah.
Supplementaries, can that again be communicated to councillors, please, to understand that the need to adhere to the constitution of the council?
So it's not really a question, just a statement.
Yes,
yeah.
please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Right. We'll now move on to, and can I just ask, we don't need to read through the questions. We just basically want, you've had your question, it's in writing. The answer is given in writing. We just want your supplementary question if you have one. So questions now. Number one from Councillor McGregor. Councillor McGregor's first question then, in other words. It's regarding the executive meeting I held on the second report of items about driver shortages.
Okay, just bear with me 2 seconds.
They're all in order.
Yeah, I haven't got them in the same order. Okay, on the first question, I do have a supplementary. With a plethora of driver training models in the marketplace, including driver retention and cost recovery, what efforts did you make, Councillor Dewhurst, to seek alternative expert advice that would allow the training to be carried out and the costs either recoverable or retaining the driver for a minimum period?
Councillor Dewhurst, behind you, please. The boom.
Thank you. So in terms of driver training, this is something that I have discussed at length ever since I've been the portfolio holder for this with officers of this council, not just a single officer. I felt that by speaking to a range of officers over this matter, I was receiving a full panoply of answers to my questions about training. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. Right, okay. Your second question, or second in this line, Councillor McGregor, about the black bin charge, I believe.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. The previous one was obviously none. Apart from the fact, like with BMQs, the questions are from members to the exec or council, I find patronising responses offensive. I'll therefore omit to mention the lack of recycling of cartons, crisp packets, and when I talk about cartons, I'm talking Tetra Paks and plastic wrappers, etc., and simply repeat the question, which is, what mitigations will be made for low-income households?
Councillor Dewhurst.
Thank you very much. So the answer to that is in the answer to the second question. And in terms of recycling of Tetra Paks, this council does recycle Tetra Paks. Thank you.
Thank you. Question
That's
three.
not, I'd like to actually pause there before we go to the next question, Chair, and just say that was not the answer to the question. Councillor Dewhurst constantly does this. He answers a question that has not been asked. The question was specifically, what mitigations will be made for low-income households?
I think really he has tried to answer that question. I don't know if he wants to make any further comment. He's
No,
that's fine. So can we move on to question three, please, Councillor McGregor?
No supplementary for question 3.
You have no supplementary question 3.
Yeah.
Question 4 then.
Question 4. I'm not sure Councillor Dewhurst understood the question. I asked you specifically about the plans you made with the waste team prior to the current shortage. Let me rephrase it for you. Bearing in mind, you were aware of staff shortages, having campaigned on it for several years prior to this year as part of the Liberal Democrat anti-Brexit stance. What contingency preparations did you put in place to ensure the driver supply and headcount would not be impacted if there was a staff shortage?
Thank you. Thank
Councillor
you for that
Dewhurst.
question. So I'm not aware of having campaigned about anything to do with waste staff numbers. However, when I became portfolio holder, I did discuss the matter of driver training, and we did bring in a training, what you might call training academy, to enable people, members of staff from within the council to rise through and become drivers. So that's what I've been doing since 2019.
Okay, please, no outbursts, please. Or this is the last chance. Question 5 in this row.
You responded that it's not going to impact the planned replacement schedule. Will you publish the planned replacement schedule with expected dates for the replacement of each vehicle, please?
Councillor Dewhurst.
Thank you very much. So I haven't got the dates with me here, but the planned replacement of the fleet, which happens essentially on a total basis, it has been in the budget for some years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, we'll now move on to some questions from Councillor Eden. She has a number of questions, and your first question, I believe, is on housing, Councillor Eden. Supplementary. Do you have a supplementary?
I don't, and thank you very much for the very articulate response.
Okay. Can we move on to your second question? That's
Sorry,
how
I
many
must-
properties are privately rented? Have you
Yeah,
a supplementary
no,
to that?
I'm grateful for the
Right.
carefully put together information.
Okay,
It's
thank
an
you.
improvement.
The third question was about how many private landlords. Do you have a supplementary for that?
No, I don't have a supplementary for that either. Again,
Okay.
thank you for the.
And right then, question 4 of yours. What steps have been taken to replace the portfolio holder? Have you a supplementary for that, please?
No, I don't.
Okay. Your question number 5 regarding the handover. Have you a supplementary to that?
Yes, I do have a supplementary for that. Oh, I'm booming. Yes, I don't know how much experience, if any, Councillor Connett has of managing a team of people, but isn't it the norm in organisations and the business world that if you're sacking people with 0 notice and 0 pay, to make sure you know where they are with projects before you summarily delete them? Since Councillor Connett was planning to give this paid position to his colleague and friend, Councillor John Nutley, and John couldn't start till last week, doesn't Councillor Connett think, as the current leader, for the sake of residents, he should have organised a transition? Who, for example, attended the last health and wellbeing meeting, and if nobody attended, why not? Councillor Connett, if your written reply were a reply to an A-level question, I'd give you an O for Omicron.
Councillor Connett, would you like to reply to that?
In terms of exam marks, I give Councillor Eden a U for unclassified. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you.
If you wanted to be really insulting, you'd say omega, because that's the last letter in the
Can
alphabet.
we move on, please? Your question 6, have you a supplementary for your question 6?
Yes, I do actually. I asked about a risk assessment, and Councillor Connett has replied, saying he encourages councillors to follow the Code of Conduct. That might be a reply to somebody's question, but it isn't a reply to mine. So I'd like to ask the leader of Teignbridge District Council, Councillor Connett, how his reply aligns with his own behaviour when he is back to the wrong man in praising Councillor Taylor's attack, sacked the only exec member who disagreed with his praising of Taylor's egregious tackle, and why he has cracked down on every dissenting voice. When is he going to end his back, sack and crack version of leadership? It's failing us all.
Councillor Connett?
I think the supplementary question speaks much of Councillor Eden. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Okay. Right. Question 7 of yours regarding standards,
Yeah,
Councillor
just a quick one. I'd like to ask the leader, Alan Connett, for his view on the fact that his council decided to spend £2,500 investigating a woman swearing, me, but did not argue
Excuse
to
me.
spend one single
That's
penny
not
on an
relevant.
investigation of a male
Councillor
councillor who
Eden,
physically
that's not
assaulted
relevant.
another one.
I think the response to this question came from the Chair of Standards anyway. So I think we move on. That is your supplementary, is it? Basically, yeah. Okay. Do you want to respond, Councillor Connett? I know it was really addressed to Councillor Petherick.
It's not even a supplementary to the question that was asked, in which the Chair of Standards answered, but the simple and straightforward answer is the Standards Committee found Councillor Eden wanting. It recommended a sanction, which, what I understand today, has never been carried out by Councillor Eden. She too might like to apologise. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairman. I have concluded my comments. Thank you.
Point of order. Yes, right.
Actually made a false statement to the council. Yes, you have. Councillor Eden, I watched it on my Zoom screen, apologised unreservedly in public at the Standards hearing and has written, provided a written apology to the Town Council of Teignmouth, which was what was required, and has also resigned her position as a town councillor in Teignmouth in recognition of her falling below the standards. So Councillor Connett has literally just lied to this council, and I think that is due a sanction.
That's just a statement, so that we understand what you're saying, so that's fine. We're going to now move on to the next questions, please, and that is from Councillor Dawes.
Hi, thank you. Yes,
You have a supplementary.
I do have a supplementary. I know the answer to the question, which, as a matter of record, this council failed to call out criminal actions that were taken waged against Newton Says No councillors over 3 months by Andrew Bullivant. They failed to condemn those. They've also failed to condemn the physical...
Excuse me, that's not a question.
This is a supplementary question, yes.
Right.
I think, again, down to the freedom of expression under my human rights, I'm able to frame a question as I feel suitable.
You're making a statement, we want the question.
So the question is, given that this council has failed to call out the criminal actions of a councillor, could it explain why during this meeting a BBC reporter has tweeted that they feel rather disgruntled that this council lied to them about Councillor Gary Taylor not being suspended, because he has indeed been suspended by the Lib Dem National Party pending investigation. In any normal walk of life, someone would have been removed from their role, albeit temporarily, until that investigation was done. So we want to know, the public would like to know, why this person is still in post and why this council is lying to the BBC.
Yes, we do.
Councillor Connett.
The responses are set out in the to the question. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. That was not the case. I'm sure it was not. Councillor Connett.
Chairman, if the BBC say I've lied, they can provide the evidence. Councillor Malone has clearly said to the council I've lied. I've not spoken to the BBC, Chairman. Thank you very much.
No. Councillor Malone, please. Yeah. Right, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to questions from Councillor McGregor again. Yes, you again. Yes. Air quality.
Air quality in Bitton Park Road. Okay. I do have a supplementary to question number 1, Chair.
Right, carry on.
Having read the action plan, officers are to be commended for their desire to find solutions to a problem that is going to get worse. In your response, however, you mentioned that planning take air quality into account when looking at applications. Isn't it fair to state that you are deliberately misleading residents in that response, as increased traffic on an already congested road half a mile away is not considered in the application process for that development?
Oh, right, finished. I think that's Councillor Dewhurst.
Thank you. I'm glad the councillor feels that this is some kind of joke, but for the rest of us, we're here to do business. I thank him for his supplementary question. And in terms of the question, I think the planning team do an excellent job and take into account where the effect of planning extends. In terms of the numbers of vehicles on the road, it's not a given that in fact the air quality standards will be decreasing, and in fact air quality standards have actually improved even though traffic has increased. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. You have another question, Councillor McGargo? That has been noted.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a supplementary
for
question
number two.
for number 2, although I will point out to Councillor Dewhurst that the person that really is making a joke of this is the person responding to the supplementary questions. Your initial answer seems at odds with the facts, Councillor Dewhurst. As highlighted in the question, specifically related to Bitton Park Road in Teignmouth, the rates of NO2, or nitrous dioxide I should say, in Teignmouth on that road are fluctuating above the original trigger level that put the AQMA in place. This means it is not showing reductions year on year, as you mentioned in your answer. Perhaps you would be best reading the data provided first, which actually came from the Team Bridge's own website. The supplementary question is this: what do you put the significant drop in 2020 down to?
Councillor Dewhurst.
Thank you. So clearly the significant drop in 2020 was the massive reduction in the amount of traffic on the highway from Land's End to John O'Groats, and clearly in Bitton Park Road that was the case. And nobody has given the impression that limits are acceptable, and this council is working hard with our officers and with the town council to bring forward an approach that will enable us to improve the levels of pollutants in that area. We're also working with the county council as well.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. Your question 3, Councillor McGregor?
Question 3. I also have a
supplementary
supplementary question. I read through the action plan. It's very detailed, and officers, again, as I mentioned previously, are to be commended for the efforts they are putting in to come up with solutions. One particular solution that hasn't been considered is, unfortunately, a little bit on the expensive side, but it is an option, and it's called city trees. And they are specifically designed for high volume routes and reduce not merely nitrous dioxide, but other pollutants from the air and particulates from the air. It's particularly important on a route that is taken by a lot of children heading to Teignmouth Community School. And I would suggest that perhaps Councillor Dewhurst might want to do a bit more research and actually look into these things. What commitment can I have from Councillor Dewhurst that he will look into alternative, as yet unlisted, solutions?
So you have a commitment that I will look at anything that would improve the air quality for people in Teignmouth and all the other air quality management areas. And clearly we...
Please.
And clearly that is the desire of this council.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cox. Is this relevant? It's not really relevant. We're just doing questions, Councillor Cox.
Well, it's just as I mean,
no, sorry,
okay.
I'm not going like that. I'm going to move on to the next question, and it's there's some from Councillor Clarence. You have 3 questions, I believe. Have you got a supplementary to your first question?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, I have a supplementary for all three questions. In fact, the first question, the leader, with respect, has failed to answer the first question. I was asking the leader whether he agreed with me, having heard the presentation, that the number of stress discharges are currently unacceptable, and this is about sewage into the Team. I therefore ask him again whether he believes the current number of stress discharges are unacceptable.
Councillor Connett.
Yes.
Right. Right. Okay. Question 2. Have you a supplementary?
Oh, yeah, I have. Thank you for that. Our first question. That's really great. Again, with respect, I felt my question wasn't answered when I asked. Now we know the number of stress discharges, and Buckland supposedly fit for purpose till 2035. Is he really waiting for the Overview and Scrutiny Committee to act when the leadership of TDC could act promptly rather than pass the matter back to ONS on such a serious matter?
Scrutiny is a serious business, Chairman, and the councillors who are on scrutiny have done a good job so far, and it's in their power to do more. It's about empowering councillors, not buck shifting it back to the executive or ping pong. It's about an approach from Teambridge. I welcome Councillor Clarence's engagement in this matter. I've already explained to him I think there's a lot of evidence that can be used, and it's up to him to step up to the plate as well and work with colleagues to get a robust response that we can take to our parliamentarians, to South West Water, to the Environment Agency, and work with it. This shouldn't be a battle between he and I or between he and other councillors. There's a job of work to be done. Does he want to do it with scrutiny? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for the answer. By God, I want to do it. That's why I'm asking these questions. Believe you me.
Question 3 of your
again,
supplementary.
with respect, in response to my call for action for Teambridge to act, does the leader agree with me that such stress discharges into the Team are a matter for us to deal with, rather than his response claiming that Parliament is the job to do it? Can't Parliament be expected to micromanage the shortcomings of what we can deal with? So it's about, chucking the answer, blaming Parliament. It's up to us to do something about it. And does he agree with me?
Chairman, it's not about blaming Parliament. It's about the wider context. The pollution in our waters is a national issue. Teambridge District Council has a part to play in that, but it's a matter for government. I'm trying to explain to Councillor Clarence that a vote on the amendment to the Environment Bill was not supported by local parliamentarians, I understand. We do have a job of work to do to explain to them why we would have hoped they would have supported the amendment. There's a big piece of work to do. And as he knows as well, this council, like every other council, is required to deliver housing. It's a government instruction that the council does. So we're trying to work through the twin steps of delivering the housing that people need, which I know Councillor Clarence supports, as well as ensuring we have good quality clean water, which I know he wants as well. This isn't and needn't be a battle between us, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a good answer from Alan, and I'm sure that this council will press for solutions to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, we move on now to some more questions from Councillor McGregor. Your first question in this round, Councillor McGregor.
You have a supplementary for question 1. Why did the planning business manager not correct for the record that the land supply was not at risk during the planning committee meeting recently, and do we briefly supporting a development not to use misleading terms?
That's Councillor Taylor, I believe.
Thank you for your supplementary question, and a detailed response will get a reply in the members' newsletter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question 2, have you a supplementary?
No, actually.
No? Oh.
I do have for question 3, though.
For question 3, then, regarding TE3, have you a supplementary?
Question 3. Legislation seems to indicate that the outline planning permission is set at 5 years maximum. The site has exceeded that by 2 years without any notification to the developer. The legislation reads clearly enough, and as it is now impossible to complete the OPP and development within the legislated timescales, will you ensure that the applicant will seek planning in principle again for the TE3 site? And if you are not prepared to pursue this as a course of action, will you seek independent legal advice and demonstrating why?
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you again for this supplementary question. It's a detailed response that's required, and you will get such through the members' newsletter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Question 4, have you a supplementary?
I do, surprisingly.
Surprising.
Privacy was the basis of the question 4, and the response seemed to imply that it was really up to the officer concerned based on the individual site requirement. Does that mean, the supplementary then is, does that mean there is no consistent view on what constitutes privacy impact, and if not, why not?
I would agree there's some subjectivity to it. There are some guidelines that are in the local plan, but I feel that there's also some more detail that could be presented, and as such, you'll get a further response to this supplementary question in the members' newsletter.
Thank you. Question 5, is there a supplementary?
There is indeed. The original question was about, I do need to kind of give context, I think, just
well,
really
I'll allow a little bit.
About the discussions between council and other bodies regarding waste discharges, and following on from Councillor Clarence' points. With the sheer volume of waste and faecal matter being dumped into the estuaries of Teignbridge and the potential effects on shellfish stocks, other wildlife, tourism and the local economy, would it not be sensible for the authority to follow advice from the regulatory body Ofwat and institute regular, ongoing and detailed discussions about capacity, or should we just let inaction and complacency lead to the destruction of our watercourses, particularly in light of requirements of the NPPF in finding creative ways to facilitate developments?
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
Councillor Taylor.
I don't accept that there's been inaction, but I will ask for a detailed response to this question, supplementary question, to be put in the members' newsletter. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Question 6, supplementary?
Yes, I do. Last one.
Last one.
Does the addition of single or small-scale development, including windfall outcomes for planning volumes, not figure in any concern for the capacity, as the focus appears to mainly be on large developments?
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. I'll give due consideration to this question and give a response in the members' newsletter.
Right. Okay. I think that's you done, Councillor McGregor.
Yeah, thank you very
Okay.
much.
Now we're back with Councillor Eden. You have, I think, 3 questions here. Yeah. No supplementaries for 1, 2 or 3. That's fine. Okay. Now, we had 2 more questions from Councillor Dawes. As he's left the building, there will obviously be no supplementaries, so that brings to an end the questions from members, and subsequently the end of the meeting. So I'll say thank you very much, everyone, for being here and just sitting through this. Do appreciate it. Not the easiest for all of us at this stage, but thank you very much, and we will see you at the next meeting.